Hey everyone, Shahin at MotoCorsa. As promised, whiskey in hand, ready to reveal the 2021 Multistrada V4S. We've all taken our time riding this bike, getting to know it a little bit. I'm sure as we go around and show this bike to you, you'll see some dirt and grass on it. Here at MotoCorsa, we're not known to take it easy in our machines. We like to actually ride them and really kind of get the full experience, and that's what you're paying for. You want to have fun with these bikes, and so I'm super happy to see that Ducati has paid a lot of attention to that. Not just because of us, but because of what the riders are asking for, and that we want something that's tough. We want something that can handle daily ride and abuse, and do it without any drama. I am the owner of, I have 3 Multistradas now. I'm about to have the 4th one. And everyone that follows me on Instagram or just in general life knows that I ride the heck out of them. And so what I look for in my motorcycle is durability, fun, reliability. And my previous Multistrada 1200 Enduro really truly delivered all that. But this promises to give me more. And I believe them. And here's why. So for starters, Ducati has gone away from the desmodronic valve. And I know that was a really big controversial topic for a lot of people. But I think it's probably one of the best things they've done. For someone that puts down about 10 to 11,000 miles a year on their motorcycle, the added benefit of not having to do my valve adjustments so often as 18,000 miles, which is still great, is such a huge value. That means I don't have to have my bike sitting for 10 hours out of an actual 2-year period to get worked on. So really excited about that. But the thing that I'm noticing about the bike is that none of the character went away. It has so much of that visceral feeling that you have when you ride a Ducati, and that is so important to those of us who own and live with these things every day. So Ducati did a great job of keeping the bike's spirit and its feeling there still. There is definitely no lack of power. This new V4 Gran Turismo motor, it's super smooth. It is probably one of the most refined motors I've ever ridden in my life. The power comes on early and steadily. There are still 4 riding modes, as all Multistradas have had since 2010, basically. You've got Sport, Touring, Enduro, and Urban. Each one of them has pre-settings done by Ducati, but Ducati also says, hey, you are your own rider and you can set up the bike the way you like it. So it's kind of neat that they give you a really neat, good setup to start out with, but you can go in there and fine-tune it to your own liking. For instance, for myself, on Enduro setting, I like to have 0 traction control, so I can go in there and turn that off without having to get any weird dongle situation or anything. I just simply go into the menu, quickly get it done. I'm so used to it now, I can do it in probably like 30 seconds or less. So all of the features that we're used to having on Ducatis are still there. I've noticed a couple of things that are added, which make me really excited. For starters, the bike is much, much sharper handling than we thought it would be with a 19-inch front wheel. The previous bike, the Enduro, it had a much lazier steering geometry to it. But somehow they've managed to do this without losing the bike's stability. It handles highway duties at sustained speeds without any sort of drama. But at the same time, when you take it off the beaten path, the bike just feels very flickable and very stable and usable. On top of all that, they've added a couple of neat new little features. The new screen, the dash, is much bigger, it's much clearer, it is adjustable, which is super neat. If anyone's ever used a TFT or LCD dash, one of our biggest complaints is when the sun hits it. So now you can kind of reach in here and adjust it according to where you need it to be. So a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and that helps a lot. Very simple, just a little knob down there. Same thing with the windscreen. Now, one of the things that we all complained about on these motorcycles was there was a lot of wind buffeting, but Ducati's really done a lot of wind tunnel work clearly to make these things a lot quieter and more stable for the rider. You can now adjust this even easier than the previous model. I can do it with one finger. You pull up, comes up, one finger, push down, down, easy as pie. So you can do that so quickly while you're riding the bike at any speed in any situation. I noticed on either position for myself, I'm 6 feet tall, smooth as butter back there at any speed. So good job on that one. Really a big fan of it. The quick shifter for up and down shifting is almost seamless. Basically, as long as you give it positive input up or down, the bike will upshift or downshift for you very, very smoothly and quickly. They've gone to a much cleaner setup on the left, left-hand handlebar, where most of your functions on the dash and on the motorcycle are now. Instead of a ton of buttons, There's basically your mode button, which will allow you to quickly select what mode you want the bike to be in. And you use the joystick that the bike has with your thumb to choose what mode you want to be in. And you simply click on it and the bike adjusts itself accordingly based on your previous setup or whatever Ducati has set up already. The joystick also allows you to go through the two info buttons here. The top one allows you to go through things like setting menu and lap and heated seats, which we'll go over here in a second. And then you can simply scroll down and go through your trips, your range, your total miles, and so on and so forth. If you want to change mode, I already showed you, it's very easy. The preload setting is also super easy. You press the button once, it takes you to your preloads that we're used to as previous Multistrada owners, which is rider, rider baggage, rider passenger baggage, but now a fifth option, which is auto leveling, which allows you to set the bike up with your bags or without your bags, and it'll automatically level itself so that you don't have the rear end of the bike too far low or anything like that. So very, very neat that they've done all this and just allows us to have a seamless riding experience. The wheels, which were sort of topic of controversy, also are a 19-inch in the front and a 17-inch in the rear. As someone who does a lot of adventure riding, I'm here to tell you that that is a very useful set of sizes to have because you have such a huge array of tires now that you can choose from the sport touring all the way to probably the knobbiest, most gnarly off-road tire if you want to go that route. The seats, as I said before, are heated. The rider seat is controlled through the computer. The passenger seat is controlled through these buttons, which is off, low, or high. Simple as that. I'm trying to think of what else to really go over that this bike has on it that's great. Oh, it is about an inch taller than the previous Enduro model. So I'm looking forward to taking this thing out and actually getting off the beaten path and see how that behaves for us. One big option, well, I say one big issue that people had with their previous Multistrada Enduros was the height of the seat. They're inherently taller bikes when you get on these big adventure motorcycles. Ducati handled that on this bike pretty well. It's kind of neat and tidy. There are essentially two settings for the seat. You don't need any tools. You don't need to remove anything aside from the seat with the key. And you can set it in the low seat or high seat by simply putting it in the right slot. That's it. No fuss, no drama, easy peasy. One of the biggest features of this motorcycle, and I know I'm kind of jumping around here, is that the valve adjustment interval is now 60,000 kilometers, which is roughly 37,000 and change miles. That is amazing. Being used to the older Ducatis that were 6,000, 7,500 miles, and then later on 15,000 and 18,000, to have a motorcycle that can do over 30,000 miles without me having to think about changing the valves on it is incredible. That means I can ride it for pretty much the entire ownership experience and maybe not ever have to come up with that. But someone like me who puts 10,000, 11,000 miles a year, in about 3 years, I'll be looking forward to doing valve adjustments. So big thumbs up to that. All the lighting on these motorcycles is LED, front, rear, turn signals. The bike has its inertial measurement unit on, which allows you to have things like lean angle sensing ABS, traction control, wheelie control, lift control, and the headlights also work with that lean angle sensing ABS. So when you go into a turn, the inside high beam turns on and it lights up the corner for you at night, so you have full visibility all the time. Also, I noticed that they changed the way the radiators are set up. Instead of there being one singular radiator, there are now two on either side, set up a lot like a dirt bike. That, I think, is going to be great for not having a lot of gunk hit the radiator, but also the way they set it up with these gills, it is now going to push all the hot air out away from the rider. And that really works well with these little winglets that they have here. This may be one of the most comfortable, coolest riding bikes I've ever been on as a motorcyclist, in that it allows this really nice, cool flow of air. So I'm excited to ride this thing in the hot weathers of the summer. I know a couple years ago when I rode down to Baja, we were 110, 115 degree weather, and that would have come in really, really handy when I was just sweating my head off. One other thing that I noticed as someone who's dropped their bike a couple times off-road, no longer do we have to deal with the turn signal being a part of the handguard. It is now integrated into the body, so it's nice and hidden. When you buy the Enduro kit and it has the crash protection on the side, it'll really protect that. But if you somehow hit this and break it, this is a much more affordable piece to replace than the $300+ piece that it was on the previous Multistrada. So someone like myself will probably get some kind of a metal casing around this thing just to try and protect my hands from getting hurt if and when I go down when I'm being an idiot off-road. Other than that, the bike is, as you see it, comes in red or it comes in a gray color. Your options are basically cast or spoked wheels. The pricing is really friendly on that. If you want the spoke wheels, it's simply about $600 more. One question a lot of people have for us is, hey, do these things have the radars on them? Yes, so I'll go over that really quickly with you. They are currently outfitted with the actual hardware for a radar. So you'll see a little square here in front of the lights, and there's something similar behind the taillight, underneath the taillight. And the purpose of these is for radar-guided cruise control, semi-active cruise control essentially. So basically you can set the distance you want between the car or vehicle in front of you and set the cruise, and the bike will keep that distance. Ducati tells me that there is also a pass option on that, so when you put on your turn signal and need to pass somebody, the bike will actually accelerate for you. So kind of neat that you can set the sensitivity on that one. I'm excited to try that out. I believe we'll get that around June or July, so once that happens, basically all you have to do as a consumer is come into the dealership and pay for the software to be put on there. Ducati North America set the pricing on the current motorcycles as if there is no radar on it at all. So when you get it, we'll install it for you. It's $850 retail plus the install time, so it'll be around $1,000, give or take a couple of bucks. On the tail, that same radar function is a little bit different. Now we're looking at, for the first time in my riding career, a blind spot monitoring system. Again, the radar sits right here underneath the tail lights, and on the mirrors there are tiny little LED marker lights on the inside of the mirror on both sides. And so when something is in your blind spot, these will light up, much like most modern cars now have on them. So very neat to have that. We still have our semi-active suspension, which I showed you earlier. You can sort of set up with your preloads. You can go into the actual setup of the motorcycle and set them up to your liking based on what weight you're at and how much comfort or how much softness or stiffness you want on the motorcycle. One other thing that I've never seen in a Multistrada before is this little guy. There's a little compartment here, which we have the key hidden in, but this is actually made for your telephone. So you can now stick your telephone in there, connect it via USB to the motorcycle, which will then allow the bike to connect to your phone so you can control your phone calls and your music via the joystick on the motorcycle. That is more or less everything about this bike. We are going to set up test rides for everybody. Seeing as how we're still dealing with COVID, I am not going to have it where everybody comes in at once. So if you want to test ride the bike, call our shop, 503-292-7488. Ask for Kelly or Todd or myself, and we will set up a time for you. I'd like to give everybody about an hour so that you can ride the motorcycle and then we can talk about it. We've pre-sold a lot of these, so if you want one, step up and be lively about it, and we'll get you going pretty quick. And like I said, red or gray, cast or spoked, that's up to you how you want to go about that. The motorcycles that are coming to the US are currently what they call the travel and radar setup, which means the radar is already on there physically. Again, it's not turned on. Once that happens, you'll have to pay extra for that, but it'll come with the center stand, heated grips, heated seats, and also the bags, which is currently not on the motorcycle because we just had it out and we're kind of getting dirty with it. If you have any other questions, again, call us up, 503-292-7488, and cheers to you, and thanks for watching.